Welcome to my course for improving the overall performance and speed of your WordPress site for the non-developer. In fact, I created this course with one objective in mind: to remove the difficulty from the equation. If you can log into your WordPress admin panel, install some plugins, and follow some simple instructions, you too can turn a low, slow-performing site into one that your visitors and Google are going to love. So relax, grab your favorite beverage, and I'll see you on the inside and your first lesson. Okay, now we're going to go back to our plugins area. We're going to click on Add New. And we're going to be looking for the plugin All-in-One WP Migration. Before we do anything as far as performance-wise or a performance adjustment to our website, the most important thing to do whenever you're doing any kind of edits or any kind of big add-ons for plugins, you want to back up your site. And you can never back it up too much, whether it's through your cPanel, or if you have your own hosting and you back up the entire site that way. It's always a good idea to have a good copy of your site. One of the tools that I like to use is All-in-One WP Migration. Although it's normally used to move a site from one host to another, it also makes a great backup of your site so you can have a hard copy on your desktop in a backup drive somewhere nice and safe. So if you ever have to move your site to another host in a hurry or get your site back up and running, you can upload your migration copy into the software and your site will be right back to normal before you ran into the issue, very quickly and easy, and it works every time. We are going to install All-in-One WP Migration and activate the plugin. And once we've done that, we will move on to the next module so I can show you exactly what it does. See you then. Now that we have our plugin installed, let's take a look at the All-in-One WP Migration settings. See here, you can find it in your sidebar here, All-in-One Migrations. And you have a couple of different options. You have an export, which is what you create here. You're creating a copy of your website. You have an import. This is for when we create a backup of our site and we need to reinstall our previous working version. You can use import. And this is also can be used if you're moving your site from one host to another. You would take your freshly installed version of WordPress with basically nothing really on it except for the default themes. You would install All-in-One Migration, upload your previously created copy from your other host into this, and it would put your site back just the way it was on your other hosting account. Works fantastic. Been using this for years and never had an issue. And then you have backups here. Now, these are the backups that we actually create. And this way here, so you can restore your site if anything goes wrong. So you have the great advantage of having a backup copy in the system ready to be restored in case something goes wrong with your site. Or we can create a new, fresh WordPress install in case something goes awry where we can't even have access to the admin panel. We can upload our migration copy and put our site back within maybe 45 minutes to an hour, depending how quickly your browser or your internet connection can upload and download files. So in here we go to export. This is where we're going to create a copy of our site. And whenever we're doing any kind of edits, adding any plugins to our site, anything that can put our site at risk for breakage, we definitely want to make a copy. You can never make too many copies. So we have a couple of different options. We can export a file, and this is one that we would download to our computer. And then we have a couple of different services, well, I should say several different services that we can have our migration copy or our backup copy sent to. So if you have an account with any of these services, you can actually take that backup and have it sent and stored nice and neatly in any of these services or multiple services. What I normally like to do is I like to create an actual file. So once you hit file, it's going to start generating your export. And once your export is done, we'll stop it here because I've already done this. We're going to go into our backups list. Our backup is going to be here. We have the options to restore our site and also download the copy. Always download a copy and always keep a copy in this query or in this list for quick restore if necessary. And that's it. This is a powerful tool. This is a tool that is going to come in so handy when things go wrong. And things may go wrong. That's just technology. So have this plugin installed and it will give you a bit of a relief that you have it at your disposal when needed. Our first of, well, a handful of plugins that we're going to use to take our website from a sluggish mess to a much quicker responding site that our visitors will definitely appreciate. And so we're going to start off here in our dashboard. We're going to go to our plugins panel. And as we load up here, we're going to add a new plugin. So we're going to look for this plugin, add new. And we're going to type in WP Optimize. And this is the plugin right here that we're going to be looking for. It's got a bunch of different features that we will touch on in the upcoming lessons. But in this one here, all we want to do is download it and get it installed within our WordPress system so we can start using some of the great benefits and features this plugin provides. So again, it's WP Optimize. We're going to download. I already have it downloaded here. And then we're going to install. And once we have it installed, I will see you in the next lesson. Now we're going to explore the features and different tools that we can use to help speed up our site. So we're going to go in our sidebar here. We're going to look for WP Optimize, and here it is. So we're going to click on so we can go to the settings area. And the first panel we're going to see is the Optimizations panel. And this has a number of different tools that we're going to use in order to speed up our site. And what we'll do is we'll do a quick run through the main ones that we're going to be focusing on and exactly what they do and how they're going to help us. So as you can see here, the first option that we're looking for is Optimize Database Tables. And what this does, it's going to do a compression work and it's going to do a clean out work of some old tables that have been left behind from either plugin changes, plugin removals, anything that we've done in our database that is just sort of hanging around. It's like doing house cleaning in the database area. The next thing we're going to look at is clean all post revisions. And what revisions are is whenever we update a page, it leaves a trace behind of the pages before that. So in case we ever want to revert back to a previous version of our page, we can do this. And unfortunately, WordPress does a poor job at removing these and sort of leaves them behind. And as you can see here, we only have 12 post revisions in our database. But I have seen some client sites that have hundreds and hundreds of these sort of just laying in the database, cluttering it up. And just as a quick aside, WordPress is a database-driven system, which means that WordPress will call to the database to pull the information that we've added to the site, whether it be content on pages, images, anything that has to do with the way the site's displayed has to be pulled from a database. And so whenever this database is cluttered up, it can slow down the process that WordPress uses to scan and grab the information that it needs to place on the site that our visitors actually view. We also have the option here is to clean all trashed posts. These are any posts that we've had previously that we've gotten rid of, we've deleted, and those get left behind until we clean out that bin. We can remove spam and trash comments. We don't have any comments in ours. With this client here, we shut off that option because comments is not a tool that we currently use. You can remove unapproved comments. Now, these are comments that have been submitted that are sort of sitting in your database. You'll see them in your admin area of WordPress. And the last one that we will use is remove expired transient options. Now, this is the part where you definitely want to do a backup of your site before you run this option. And as you can see here, you have the warning that'll let you know. And so we'll make sure that we'll run a backup. And when we get to this point, I'll show you exactly how to do that as well. So in the next lesson, we will start to clean up our database. So in this lesson here, we're going to start the process of cleaning out our database. We have a couple of options here. We can either run a bulk run, which will go through all of the different options we have checked to run, and it'll go through them one at a time, and it'll do it. Or we have the options to manually sort of clean out a database or use a setting according to what we may have in that database. In a case like this, instead of doing a bulk run, what you may want to do is run these tools that we know we have sort of things lying around that we want to clean out. In this case here, we don't really have any trash posts and we don't have any spam trashed comments or anything in those lines. So, we could do an individual run of each tool. But in this case here, we're going to do a full run just to show you how it works. And again, before we do anything, refer back to our previous lessons on backing up our site. It's crucial that whenever we do anything to our site that has the potential to break something and bring our site down, we always want to make sure we have the option to have our site back up and running as quickly as possible. And our backups will always make sure that we have a copy of the site in its working order that we can have back up and running as quickly as possible. Okay, so in saying that, I'm going to run the job here. And as you can see, it's going through each of the options one by one to clean it out. We've gotten rid of our transient options. We're cleaning up our database. While the optimize database tables is running, we'll quickly touch on what transient options are. Transient options are cached data within the database that gets recorded. And sometimes these cached information is old and it doesn't expire when we sort of want it, whenever we do an update. So by cleaning this out, speeding up these tables, and we are finished. So what we'll do is we'll just rerun our database. And as you see here, everything is cleaned out. Everything looks good. We have 0 transient. We have no more post revisions. And our database tables has been run and optimized 42 of them for us. So that's a great start. So that's a real simple option. And that's what all of these options are going to be. They're going to be straightforward. And I want to make sure that it's super simple for you to get in here and make your site as user-friendly as possible. In this lesson, we're going to take a look at the images setting within WP Optimize. And what we're going to be looking to do here is compress our image files down so that they load much faster when a page is called upon and loaded within our browser. This is going to improve the visitor experience tremendously. And also, it's going to score better within the Google rankings or the page speed score within Google itself. So there are a couple of options that we can have here. Pretty simple on the basic side of WP Optimize. All we're going to want to do is optimize and compress newly added images. And so we would normally just click this tab here, and that would be it. And all you want to do here is another setting here is you can set the quality that you want to keep when your images are compressed. If the quality is set too low, when the images are compressed, they are going to start to pixelate in some cases, especially if they're larger images that you have imported into your site. And this can be a problem. So make sure that you find a image quality setting that is going to be good to display your images correctly. And that's basically it for the images setting. Now for our use here, if you want to use it, that's fine. We have another tool that we're going to explore later on in our course that we're going to use instead of this one. So for now, I'm just going to toggle this back off, but feel free if you would like to use this, completely go ahead. It's great. And other than that, that'll wrap it up for the images setting in WP Optimize, and I'll talk to you in the next lesson. We finished the process of tidying up our database to speed up our site. Let's take a look at the next option in WP Optimize, which is the cache option. So we're going to go over to the tab that says cache. We're going to click on it, and we're going to be presented with a couple of different options within this tool set of settings. We have page cache, preload, advanced settings, gzip compression, and static file headers. And we'll touch on each one of these individually, but we're going to start off with page cache. And what page cache is it's hardware or software that is used to store something. And in our cases, it's going to be our information in our pages, so that when someone visits our site, they don't have to have the page loaded up fresh every time they visit the site. This way here, it speeds up the process on how fast these pages and information is served to them. So when you arrive, you're going to see this toggle option off. So we're just going to toggle it back on. You'll see it in blue. That'll let us know that it's activated. And so now WP Optimize behind the scenes is doing its job to cache our pages in our content. So down here, we're going to see another option here. It's called Purge Cache. And so every so often, you will update one of your pages, and your cache software may not display the latest version of your page to your visitors. And this could become a problem because you want your visitors to see the most recent version of your content. So if this ever happens, and it's rare, it doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. It's technology, and technology is never 100%. So we just want to make sure that we know how to fix this if we ever come across it. And here's where we do it. So when we purge the cache, what WP Optimize would do, it'll wipe out all of the stored information that it currently has, and it'll create a brand new version. And this way here, it'll make sure that it grabs the brand new edit or brand new pages that you have created on your WordPress site. So that's it. That's the page cache option. And in the next lesson, we'll take a look at preload. Next option we're going to look at in WP Optimize is the preload option. So we'll come up here in our tab, we'll click preload to go to our settings. For cache to work properly with most software and plugins, your page has to be loaded in a browser at least one time by the visitor. And then once they return to that page, it's been cached and loads quicker. Well, what preload does, especially with WP Optimize, is it takes it just a step further. So what WP Optimize software does is it'll crawl your entire site, loading all the URLs and store them ahead of time so that it's already served up faster the very first time a visitor lands on one of your pages. And this is a great for the experience of visiting your site. As we all know, the first impression for your pages is extremely important because how long someone stays on your site is very crucial to how well they navigate through and make sure that they get the information that you're trying to relay to them. So on the preload tab, we look at our options and we're going to run for a little bit. It's picking up our pages. It's doing its crawl. So as it goes through, it's going to be looking for 439 URLs to store in its system so that these pages load up much faster for our visitors. And if we look down here, we can actually set up a scheduler for our preloader to go ahead and rescan our site to make sure any new pages we've added or any pages that we have done adjustments to of any kind get picked up so that the newest version in all of our pages get served up in the best form possible. And that's simply how we use the preload function. Preload settings within WP Optimize. We're going to move on to the next set of features to continue the process of improving our site's performance for our valued visitors. So the next tab we have in the list is Advanced Settings. And because we are doing more of a basics with WP Optimize, we're not actually going to do anything within this tab. So we're just going to leave it as is. And we're going to jump right over this guy and check out gzip compression. Now, gzip compression is the option that improves the site's performance in decreasing loads time. And as you can see here, we already have it enabled on our site, but when you land on this tab in particular, you're going to see a button that's going to indicate that it's disabled. So the only thing you have to do is click on that single button to activate gzip compression on your site and put this tool to work for you. And that's it. So this was a quick lesson, and I'll see you in the next one. We're going to proceed further within our cache settings to static file headers. And much like we did with gzip, this step is going to be very quick. It's going to be a very quick lesson. So basically what you're going to see here as we have this already enabled on our site. What you will see on your end is a disabled button. So basically what you did in gzip compression is the same thing you're going to do here. You're just going to click that button to sort of put this tool to work. And basically what the static file headers do is it caches files that sort of stay the same. They don't change. So each time that they're sort of called upon, there's no need for them to be recached because they stay pretty static. They stay pretty much the same. So that's basically it. This is another quick lesson. Very simple. Click on your disabled button to activate the static file headers. And we are done with our cache part of WP Optimize. In our next lessons, we will start exploring the minify settings. We are going to jump into the wonderful world of minifying our files, and this includes our JavaScript, CSS files, and even some HTML files. And what minification does is it sort of compresses your files down, removing any of the excess lines, empty spaces within the code, which shortens it down and makes it easier for, well, for the browsers to read, and even something like Google looks for. They want minification on your files. So this is going to be important as the way as Google grades your site and your site speed. So it's going to be really simple to do. We're going to land on the minification, and we're going to activate it by clicking on our toggle. And as you can see here, we've got three additional toggles here that we're going to activate. We've got one for our HTML. We're going to process that. We've got our JavaScript. And last but not least, we have our CSS. And that's it for the minification status. And so the next step that we can do is we can go into the individual settings in JavaScript, CSS, our fonts, and other settings to sort of take the minification to the next level. So that's it for this lesson. It's another quick lesson, and we'll see you in the next one. JavaScript settings in our Minify tab. So as you can see here, it's going to show us some different options that we have activated already. And you can look this over to sort of become a little bit more familiarized with these settings. There's really nothing we have to do here unless we do some customization, which as this is a basic into using WP Optimize, we won't actually be adding anything here. So we're just going to leave this alone. We're going to make sure everything's saved. So we'll just save our settings. Nothing has changed. And from here, we'll jump into our CSS tab. And as you can see here, we just want to make sure that some of our options here are checked to make sure that they're activated. Any of these blocks down here are more for customization of our settings. And again, we won't be touching these, so don't worry. And we're just going to make sure after we have these boxes all clicked on that we're going to hit save. And just to quickly go back to the JavaScript tab, we just want to make sure that these tabs here or these settings are also checked. So that's basically all we have to do for our JavaScript and CSS settings. We just want to make sure that the tools that we want to use and the way that we want this minification to work is checked off. And if they are, we are good to go and we're ready for our next steps. So we'll see you in the next lesson. We're going to wrap up some of the settings in WP Optimize. And we've gone through quite a bit. We've taken a look at the database, our images, our cache, our minification settings. And to continue on with our minification, we're just going to take a look at a couple of other tabs that we're not necessarily going to have to do anything in particular with, but I do want to show them to you so you're familiar with them, you can see them, and get a good idea of what they do. So in the next one, we're going to look at fonts. And this one here mainly deals with a lot of the Google fonts. I know that, especially with Google, the way they rank your site, they like your Google fonts to be handled a specific way. So in a case like this, we can sort of keep everything in line, which, removes the amount of spacing and everything as far as how they load. Nothing really you have to worry about here for the most part. We look at our other settings, and this is just going to take a lot of our inline code. This is the code that we place within our blocks. It sort of cleans everything up. Normally, you won't have to do anything here as well. So, but I did want to show it to you. We will move on to our preload setting. We did everything we had to do with this in our caching section. So this one here, we can just proceed on. In the advanced settings here is more for exactly what it is, advanced usage. And for the use in our basic setup of WP Optimize, this is another tab that we're not going to necessarily work with. But I want you to see what these tabs do, what's in them. So in case you're wondering, there they are. And so that wraps it up for the WP Optimize setup for our site. And next, we were going to explore looking into and using more tools in combination with WP Optimize to make our site faster for our visitors. In this set of lessons, we're going to start by installing yet another powerful tool we're going to use in our quest to boost the performance and speed of our website. So we're going to start in the plugins section, and we're going to be looking to add a new plugin. So we're going to go up to the section, to the button here. It's going to say Add New. We're going to go here, and we're going to type in Assets Cleanup Page Speed Booster. And this is the plugin right here that we're looking for. So when you come across it, you can see it's got a 5-star review, so that's always good. It's a very reliable plugin. And what you're going to see is the Install Now button, as I have already installed it. So basically all you're going to do is install it and then activate it. And that's it for this lesson. In the next one, we will start exploring this tool and how to use it. Look at our settings in our Assets Cleanup plugin. To access this area, we want to look at the left side of our control panel in our WordPress admin area. See, it's located here. And when you first open up this tool set, you're going to be greeted with the Get Started area. And this is just going to provide you with some general information to, what the plugin does, the different options and benefits, whether you want to go light versus the pro version. We are using the light version in these tutorials, the free version. And so basically, it's great to come in here, get yourself familiar with some of the workings of this tool. In just a general tabs, will show you different information. And in the next lesson, we will start digging a bit deeper with some of the actual settings. So we'll see you in the next module. Getting started area, we're going to go into the settings tab. Now in here we have a bunch of different options to apply this tool and allow it to do its job. And to kind of explain what this tool does, whenever we install a new plugin, it has the tendency to apply its JavaScript CSS files to all pages, even on pages where we're not using that particular plugin. This can become a problem when we're trying to optimize our site for speed. So later on in the lesson, we'll go through our individual options on each page to unload these scripts. This way here, when Google does their search or even to load the page, these individual sort of JavaScripts and CSS that get left behind can really slow up your site's speed, and this can become a problem for our visitors. So that's where this tool's power really comes into play, and it allows us to go in and make sure that if we're not using a particular plugin and their files, that we can unload them and prevent them from clogging up particular pages. So here in our settings tab, it shows us the different options. So as you can see here, it shows that I have 205 page unloads, which means that I've gone in individually and on certain pages, I have taken off or removed the ability of certain plugins from affecting my page's performance, especially when those plugin features are not used on the different pages. You have bulk change options, and these are options where you can go in and apply certain settings to the entire website globally instead of going through one by one. And you have other tools here, like if you have a license for the pro version, here's where you can add that license here. And it has a few other tools that are available that you can sort of pick from, import and export. But for the purposes of our videos here, we won't be doing too much work back here, although it's great for us to get familiar with it as we get more advanced. But for the purposes of our learning, we're going to go into the individual pages, and that's where we're really going to work with this assets cleanup tool to its best of its ability. In an individual aspect, removing the plugins we are not using to making our pages as lean as they can possibly be. So we'll see you in the next lesson. So now we are on one of my pages in this client's website, and I'm going to show you exactly how we apply the different settings for the assets cleanup and manually on individual pages. So we're going to start, of course, I'm starting here with a page that I've already built. You can see here we're using the Divi Builder. We're just going to scroll down to where our options say Assets Cleanup. That's what we're looking for. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to go down through our list of plugins, or I should say the CSS and JavaScripts that we have running on this page. And we're going to keep the tools that we need for this page, but we're going to try to unload as many of the scripts and files that we do not need for this page that are just hanging around from plugin clutter. So as we scroll down here, as you can see, we have our consent plugin. We actually use that on our home page, so we won't touch anything here. But here's one in particular. It's an easy author image plugin that's used in our blog area. Now this plugin here wouldn't be used on this particular page, so I want to unload that. So it's going to be simple as tagging it off. Now the one challenge when you go through the different list of scripts that you have running on a page is to be able to test your page as you disable either a JavaScript or a CSS file to see how it affects your page. And we do this each time we toggle one off so we can keep track of what actually may be triggering the site to sort of act a little wonky. So this is really good because you can go from unloading 6 to a dozen different scripts and then not know which one actually tripped, what could be a problem on your page. Although we assume that we're sort of unloading a script that we're not using, it very well could be a case where we're using a portion of it on our page which we didn't realize. So that's always a good practice. And like anything else, always back up your site before we do any sort of altering to our pages in general. It's always good to have a nice, fresh, working copy of our site we can refer back to in case something goes a little crazy. So again, we're just going to scroll down here, and as you can see, these are the CSS files. So I've unloaded another one here that's Enjoy Instagram, which we actually do not need for this page. And it's the same thing. You just scroll down individually, and you'll see that they'll be sectioned off together so you can identify them, and you just toggle off the ones that you are not using on this page, which will lean up the page quite a bit to help its performance. And that's basically all you do. And this tool, although simple, is a very powerful tool. It can actually help increase your grade with Google pretty quickly. So it's a really good tool to have as far as to clean things up and to make the user experience for your visitors the best it can possibly be. And that's about it. That sums up this plugin as a whole. And this you would do on each individual page. You go through, unload the plugins and scripts that you don't need, and keep the ones that you do. Okay, so in this lesson, we're going to start looking at how can we speed up our website by simply compressing our images. Large images in particular can really slow up the loading time for pages. So what we're going to do is, of course, we're going to start off with our plugins panel. We're going to add new. And the plugin we are going to look for is Imagify. You can see right here, I've already downloaded this plugin, but if you haven't, you would download it now. And we go back to our plugins panel, and we will scroll down, we will find our plugin, and we will activate it. Okay, so now that we are activated, we will go to our next module to walk through. This tool provides us for helping us speed up our website. So we'll see you in the next module. right, so let's proceed to the next step. So now that we have Imagify installed, we're going to want to create our free account so we can have access to our API key to integrate with our WordPress plugin. So I already have my API key, so I'm going to say I have key. I'm going to enter it in, and I'm going to connect. Beautiful. I am connected with Imagify itself so that we can take advantage of compressing our images to make our site faster. And the one other thing that Imagify does that's fantastic, and especially works well with speeding up your site, even in the eyes of Google, the speed test, is converting your images to WebP. And this compression is one of those compressions or suggestions that Google provides in order to speed up the load times of your site. So this free tool, although it's limited to how many images we can compress per week, and if you have it in your budget, you can increase your subscription. But even with the free version, we have a lot of power to do some different things. And converting to WebP is a free process that they provide to us, along with 200 megabytes of file compression per session that we have in our free account. Okay, so now that we have that part, in our next lesson, we will start going over some of the settings in this image compression tool. So now we're in our settings panel. If you clicked the settings button in our previous lesson, if not, you can go to settings in your WordPress panel, Imagify, and it'll take us back to the settings. So in here, there's just a few things that we want to toggle to turn on this tool so it can compress our files to speed up our website. One of the main issues with some websites is when we create our images, and depending what Photoshop type tool that we use to do our images, they don't do a great job at compressing them to their smallest form without losing the quality. So tools like this sort of get into the back end of a lot of these image files and clean up the excess junk or the excess load on an image so that it loads much quicker, and at the same time compressing it down to a size that's more manageable for the site to load. So as you can see here, some of our settings is we're going to auto optimize images on upload, which means whenever we add a new image to our image library or to our media library, it's going to automatically compress that image for us. And another thing the tool is going to do, it's going to back up our original images. So if anything goes wrong, we can always refer back and put everything back nice and neat the way we want it. And as a word of caution, and I say this with no matter what plugin we trust and use, we always want to do a full backup of our site before we implement any of these tools, because we never can tell how a specific plugin that we're using is going to interact with some of the other plugins we have installed on our site already. So it's always good to do a good backup so we can refer back to the best version of our site before we ran into some with conflicts. So the next option here, which is an important one, is the WebP option. So here it's going to take our images, it's going to convert them to WebP. Again, this is recommended by Google in their speed test. So we can actually toggle this on and it'll replace our images with WebP versions of them. And if you use a CDN, which is more in an advanced, but as is for now, we're going to leave it blank. So, and that's pretty much it. And as you can see here, the other formats that we have checked is just for image size. A lot of times what we'll do is whenever we're using even our header image, we'll normally upload an image that is way too large than what we actually need. So this tool here will make sure that we don't go over a specific pixel width with our images, keeping them as small as possible for fastest load time. So that's about all we have to do with this tool. Okay, so once we have this done, we can either save our changes or we can save our and do a bulk optimize. So what this will do is it will go in and sort of start optimizing the images that you've already added to your media library up to that free limit that it provides per day per week. I've already done this with our optimization, so I'm just going to save changes. And that's it. Okay, so the next plugin we are going to install in our quest to speed up our site is going to be WP Control. So we're going to come over to our plugins, going to go to our plugin page. We're going to hit Add New. We're going to type in WP Control. This is the plugin that we're looking for. As you can see, I already have it installed, but if you don't, you're going to click the Install Now button and then activate. And in the next lesson, we will dive into this plugin and how it can actually help your site and speed it up. It's going to be a good next lesson because a lot of people don't know about this one. So we'll see you in the next video. This tool WP Control and see what it does to help us out. So we're going to go into our tools and we're going to go into cron events. You can see here we have a tool set with all different options. So what cron events are, they're actually cron jobs. And cron jobs can slow up your website depending on certain things that they do, as cron jobs can take up resources on your server if they're constantly firing. So the thing we want to do with this plugin here, we want to look at the different cron jobs we have running on our WordPress site, and we want to try to reduce the amount of times that the cron job is firing, which will reduce the load on our site in general. So everybody's site is going to be different as far as what cron jobs are being fired, and this is all going to be dependent on what plugins you are running. But in general, you want to try to look at different type of cron jobs that are running twice daily, once daily, and you want to sort of make these updates. So here, we'll make an edit. As you can see here, this cron job is running twice daily. We're going to reduce that to once daily. And this simple little change will reduce the amount of cron jobs that are being fired on an hourly basis or even a daily basis, which can help give back the resources that your site needs to run for your visitors. Visitors arrive, it's possible. And little unknown tools or underutilized tools like this can make a big difference to how your site performs. So again, you just want to go through your list of cron jobs, and you can test this. If you find that the cron job that you change doesn't run as well as you may need it for a particular task, you can always change it back and make the adjustments. And like anything, and I'll keep repeating this because I don't want you to forget, always back up your site to the best available version, so in case we ever have to go back to it, we can do it in a timely manner to have our site back up and running so our visitors, when they arrive, they get a functioning website. So that's the run through of this plugin. Very simple. Run through your cron jobs, test and find out which ones that you can reduce the amount of times they're being called to reduce the load on your server. And we'll see you in the next lesson and module. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the next plugin we are going to install to help with our website loading and site performance overall. So we're going to go into our plugins area, add new. Over in our search plugins, we're going to type in Heartbeat Control by WP Rocket. This is the plugin that we're looking for. We are going to install it. I already have it installed. And once you have installed the plugin, we are going to activate it. And in the next video, we're going to talk a little bit more about the heartbeat control and how just by clicking a few of the settings, we can improve our WordPress site's performance. So I'll see you then. Okay, so we have our plugin installed. So now we're going to go to our settings. We're going to see heartbeat control. Now in our settings, we have three basic options that we are going to click. But before we do that, let me just explain a little bit about the heartbeat control in WordPress. Now the WordPress Heartbeat API can actually slow down your website because it makes a significant amount of requests on the back end, which can affect even the most simplest thing as gaining access to your admin panel or even the site as a whole. So unless this is an important thing for you to have installed, which I normally disable, you can do the same and it will make a bit of a difference to the overall performance of your site. So as we start off here, we got our WordPress dashboard. We're going to disable the heartbeat control. On our front end, we are also disabling, and on the post editor, once again, we are disabling the heartbeat control. We're going to save our changes. And just like that, we have already put in motion this plugin to perform what it does best, and that's removing these extra calls to the site, which can bog it down. In our world, we are trying to avoid to make the experience for our visitors as best as humanly possible. Now you have more optimization options that you can use, and you will need WP Rocket for that. But this is the free version, and these are the basic functions that we are going to be using. So that's it for this plugin. Very simple, very straightforward. It just adds another layer of performance enhancements to make our site better for our visitors. Okay, welcome back. So in this module, we're going to take a look at something a little different. This one here is not actually a plugin that we're going to use, and it's probably something that your site doesn't have to worry about, but there's other benefits to using this method that, that you definitely want to consider using anyway. And that is iframe blocking. And if you're familiar with an iframe, or if you're not, basically what it is, it's sort of a window that you can place on one of your website pages that shows external content from pages elsewhere on someone else's server or some other host. And so by us adding an iframe blocker, it prevents other people from playing or embedding our videos, images, content without our permission. And how this affects us speed-wise is every time these videos or any other sort of important, heavy, dynamic content is loading on their site externally, and this is our content, it's going to put load on our host server, which can slow down our site. So if this site sort of has heavy traffic and our stuff or our content, our important media is being played constantly, it can definitely affect the performance of our site, which negatively affects our visitors' experience when landing on our site. So there's two ways that we can do this. One of them is a little technical, which I'll show you first, and then I'll show you a less technical way that you can also do it. And there's two options that we can do within the first one, which I'll show you both. And let's start here. So basically there's two ways to get in. You can get in through FTP, or you can get in through your cPanel if your hosting account has a cPanel. And this one in particular, we're going to go in through cPanel. So you go to your file manager, and we're going to go into our site's main directory where our website is all the files all hosted. And this is the file we're looking for. It's our htaccess file. So once we locate this file, we're going to open it. We're going to hit edit. and we're going to copy this line of code right here. Now this is one option for the line of code, and we have a second option for a line of code. And again, these lines of code will be put into the resources area to make it easy for you just to copy and paste. So let me explain the two. This line of code right here, same origin, will block any external site that's not using our URL or our domain name from iframing any of our content. But it gives us the power to continue to iframe our own content. Like if we create a landing page or some other sort of small mini page of some sort, we can iframe our content on this page instead of going in and adding code, which you may want to do. So we can still iframe, but it prevents others from iframing our content. And our second line of code is actually a little simpler. It has a full deny method on it, which blocks all iframing, including us from iframing our content in. So you can use either one. They both work effectively, except you have a little bit more flexibility with the same origin version. So we're going to go with the same origin on ours, and we're going to add the code, and we're just going to save changes. And that's it. So in the next module, we will take a look at a simpler option that you can use that is also very effective. So we'll see you in the next one. Welcome back. So in this module, I'm going to show you the second option that we can use to block iframes. And I just want to reiterate why we're going to use it. In most cases, your site doesn't have to worry about external sources using your content, which would slow down your hosting account. But you always want to be able to protect your content from others using it as their own without your permission, whether it be videos, PDFs, infographics, or any other dynamic content that they're iframing in. You want to protect this content, and so not only does it protect our servers from being sort of bogged down from external media being used on external sites, but it also protects our content. So let's take a look at the second option. So this one here is going to be actually in the WordPress header file. So this is going to be located within your site's theme. So we're going to go to WP Content. We're going to go to Themes. We're using Divi. And you want to look for your header PHP file, which is here. We're going to open this file. We're opening it in cPanel. And you want to place a specific line of code within the opening and closing head tags. And here's our closing tag. So as long as it's placed before this closing tag, you're in good shape. So for us here, we're going to come to the top. We're going to place it right underneath this meta tag. And that's it. And then we would save our changes. And now our site would be protected globally from others using our content in their iframes. So again, simple, quick. These lines of code will be in the resource areas, and we'll see you in the next one. Video, we're going to get to a much anticipated feature that you can add to your website. If you do nothing else, if you add no other plugins, this one thing right here will dramatically boost your site's performance and speed on desktop as well as mobile, taking your website to slow and sluggish to extremely fast. So what we're going to do is we're going to look into a CDN network. And in particular, the one we're going to choose here is Cloudflare. They do have a free option, which we're going to explain in this video today. So what exactly is a CDN? Well, the best way to explain it is to read Cloudflare's explanation of what a CDN network is. A CDN network is a content delivery network. CDN is a geographical distributed group of servers that caches content close to the end user. A CDN allows for the transfer of assets needed for loading internet content, including HTML pages, JavaScript files, style sheets, images, and videos. The popularity of a CDN network services continues to grow, and today the majority of website traffic is served through a CDN, including traffic from major sites like Facebook, Netflix, and Amazon. A properly configured CDN may also help protect website against some common malicious attacks. So what a CDN network is going to do, if you have somebody trying to load your site in California, and let's say the server that your host is, let's say, New Hampshire, the time involved from the connection from California in New Hampshire is going to cause somewhat of a lag because the server is somewhat far away. A CDN network is going to create a mirror of servers across the country so that your site is served up so much faster, and the fact that they cache your site ahead of time so it serves up so there's less load times increases your site speed dramatically. So the first place we're going to start here is actually go to Cloudflare itself and set up a free account. You can look it up here on Google. We're going to click login, and I've already done that part already. So this is the page you're going to be introduced to. You're going to sign up for a Cloudflare account, and you're going to set everything up. And so the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to add a new site. And this way here, you're going to enter in your domain name. Now keep in mind that Cloudflare is not a host. What they are is strictly a CDN network, at least for our purposes in this video. So as you can see here, I have a site already set up, a site that I'm currently building called FortifyFactor.com. And what we're going to do is we're going to use them as an example to quickly set up our Cloudflare account to this site to increase the speed. And it's really simple. It sounds intimidating, but keep in mind that Cloudflare does a great job telling you exactly what to do and where to go to do it. And of course, it's going to involve you adjusting a few name servers on your domain. Sounds really complex. And if you have an IT person that you can help you with, this is going to go real smoothly. If not, don't be afraid to reach out to your domain provider for assistance during this. But most of the information is going to be provided for us here. So what I did is I ran the domain that I'm currently using, FortifyFactor.com. And what Cloudflare does is it actually does all this stuff behind the scenes to gather the information of where our site is hosted and exactly what to change. So as you can see here, it's telling me to remove these name servers and replace them with these current name servers, which are Cloudflare's name servers. So I'm going to do that right now. So I'm logged into my account here, and as you can see here, these are the name servers that Cloudflare is telling me to remove. So I'm going to use custom name servers. So as you see here, we have a couple of spots here. So I'm going to copy this name server, going to bring it over, going to attach it, and we're going to go over and grab the second name server, bring it over here, and attach it, and then we're going to hit save. As you can see here, we're pretty much done with that step. As you can see, I know it sounds very intimidating, but it's really easy. And in most cases, when you have a domain, and if you copy the name servers down on sort of like a pad or whatever kind of note sort of software you use, you can keep your old name servers, so if anything goes wrong, you can always put it back. So in this case here, we're done here, so we're going to go back here, and we're going to have Cloudflare take a peek and see if we did things correctly. It's going to say check name servers. Great. So what Cloudflare is going to do, it's going to search to make sure that we made the proper adjustments. And within a few hours, it's going to let us know. And once things are running correctly and running smoothly, Cloudflare is going to head and cache your site. And once it's cached, you're going to notice such a dramatic, and I keep saying that word, and it's so true. You're going to see a massive increase in the speed of your website. So this is one of the simplest, most powerful things that you can do for your site. And believe me when I say this, Google takes notice to CDNs. It's one of the things that they recommend in their insights reporting as far as site speeds go. They sort of instruct you that you should have a CDN. So as you can see here, it's really simple. It sounds complicated. It's just a few simple steps that you have to do once you create a Cloudflare account. Remove your name servers, replace them with the name servers that Cloudflare gives you. Apply them to your domain name, and you're done. So hopefully this video and these steps here take your site to the next steps, and I look forward to seeing you soon.